Good morning, everybody. Tyler with Arizona Adventure Rentals. Today we got the 2012 Ford Jamboree Searcher. This is a 25-foot Class C RV. It has one big slide on the other side. As you can tell, it's got the awning, and this has got three different beds. It's got the overhead bed, it's got the table that goes into a bed, and then it has a rear bed. So this is technically up to 6 people. Come on inside and we'll go take a look. So here we're inside the RV. The display panel is just as you come in through the entrance right here on the left. We're going to go ahead and go through that display panel and show you how everything works. This is the control panel on the Jamboree. This is the first thing I always tell everybody, explain everything what's on here. This is your awning, pretty self-explanatory, just goes in and out with the flip of a button. The RV has to be off for this to work. That's your awning, go in and out. Be careful that you don't travel with it on, open. Obviously, if the RV's running, it won't go in and out. If you leave for more than a couple hours, make sure you bring this in. It's very easy. It only takes about 15 seconds to bring in. This is your slide, and that's the main dining room and the fridge and freezer slide, and it tells you how to operate it. You have to have the RV on to operate this slide, and the parking brake has to be engaged. So as long as you're level and the RV is on and running and the parking brake is engaged, you just press out and that whole slide slides all the way out. Same thing to go in. RV's got to be running, parking brake, and that goes in. These are just entry lights. This is an outside porch light. These are your displays on your tanks and where everything is at. So freshwater tells you that you have 5 bars of fresh water, so you are full of fresh water. This one holds about 50 gallons of fresh water. Then it goes to gray tank. Gray is your shower water and your sink water. Obviously that's empty. That's the way that you receive it. That's the way you bring it back. Black water is just your toilet water, just your sewer. That's empty. Propane is full. Propane will run 4 different things. Propane will run your fridge and your freezer. It will run your heater at night, and it will run your hot water, and it will run your stove. So that propane will run those 4 things. The next thing is your battery power. Battery life is full. As you have the RV off, if you're not plugged in, the batteries will discharge. Water pump, flip that on, and that will give you water pressure. Always turn the water pump on prior to going to the bathroom so that you actually flush with water and then you do not clog up the black tank sensors. So always turn that on anytime you want water pressure, or if you're going to take a shower or go to the bathroom, wash your hands in the sink. Flip that on, that's hot water. The minute you flip that on, you wait 10 minutes. That will boil up and get hot water for you in about 10 minutes. Make sure you flip that off when you're not using it. Otherwise, it's going to keep all that and burn a lot of your propane up. This is an auxiliary shutoff. You never mess with that. How you know it's on is because that red light's on. If you turn that off, then that disconnects power to the whole entire unit. People do that on accident. You hear it click on, off, then you know it's got power when that's on. This is your generator switch. You just turn that on, and that will fire up your generator. The RV runs the generator. The things that run the generator would be your air conditioning up top, would be your microwave, and then it would also run the outlets inside the bathroom and in the kitchen, and then it will also charge your batteries. So that's what the generator would be used for. We do run that down the road in the summer to keep you cool. For the air conditioning is the #1. Other than that, in the winter, there's not a whole lot of reasons that you need to run the generator. Another thing that generator runs with those outlets is the TV. This has a TV up and over the bed, and if you want to have that TV working to play a movie, the generator would have to be on going down the road, or you would have to, if you're stopped, you would have to be plugged in order for all those outlets to work. Obviously, if you're plugged in, you don't need the generator for everything. So that's it for the display panel. We'll go ahead and start working our way around the RV and show you how everything works and go from there. So here's the rear part of the Jamboree, and because this is such a small model, we're just going to go and film from there. This fridge is very simple. It's a 2-button fridge. One is the on button, the other button is for auto or for gas. Like as stated earlier on the control panel, this can run off of propane and battery. That's usually what I have it running on until you actually plug in somewhere. If you're not going to plug anywhere, you're just going to put it on and you're going to put it on gas. That will run on gas and propane and battery your whole entire trip. This is the dinette. This is one big slide, so this is slid all the way open right now. We turned the RV on, parking brake, we extended that slide out. This is all the way out. It comes in about 3 feet. This is your bathroom back here, bathroom and shower, as you can see, very simple. You just pull the lever as where the toilet is. You have a lever to flush. Always turn the water pump on when you flush. This has a little sink here as well. There's a secondary water pump. There's a water pump switch up at the display panel, and there's a secondary one here. So if you want to come here to wash your hands, go to the bathroom, you could turn on the switch there as well. This is the bed in the corner, which is a queen, and this there's no other slides on this side, but that's your queen bed that's stuck here in the corner. This is your whole kitchen area. You have a lot of shelving up top here and a lot of storage. This is your air conditioning up top. In order to run this air conditioning, you either have to have the generator on or you have to be plugged in somewhere. If you're plugged in, you don't need the generator. Turn it on high cool, low cool. There's just normal fan as well. Your heater is just a normal thermostat that's right back in here, and you just have a on button on the top, and you have your thermostat setting on the bottom depending on how your temperature that you want to set. So that's a very basic thermostat, just on, and then you set the temperature to wherever you want. That will run off of battery and propane as well. I always tell people, if you're going to boondock or dry camp when you're not plugged in, you need to always make sure that you go to bed with full batteries. How do you go to bed with full batteries? You go ahead and start the generator up, let it run for about 30-45 minutes before you go to bed. That way your batteries will be charged before you go to bed. Most importantly, do that during the winter. That way that heater can run throughout the night. That heater runs off of propane, but the fan runs off the battery. So that can discharge your battery throughout the night. When you wake up in the morning, if you go to your display panel where it shows battery, you're probably going to be low. You can go start the generator up. Just a quick troubleshooting tip that it's very common if you do not plug in somewhere. You wake up, and if you've run the heater all night or a lot of lights on, you'll wake up with dead batteries, and you have to start the RV up first off the ignition on the dash, wait for a few minutes, and then start the generator up, and then in about 45 minutes all your system will be recharged again. So here's the front of the Jamboree. This is your big bed over the cab. You got a little storage that you can put around the outside to put things in, and then you actually have your TV right here. TV has a built-in DVD player that plugs into an outlet there. This is a stair to get up into that. I like using this for a lot of storage and a lot of bedding and luggage. It's nice to keep up there rather than the outside compartments can get dusty and dirty depending on where you're going on your trip. But this is good to use for storage while you're traveling. And then if you want to get in and out, or if you do not need the space, this is nice to get up. Then you can access into the RV a little bit easier. The front of this RV is very simple. It's just an Econoline E350 chassis. So everything up front as far as cruise control, tow mode, radio, USBs, that's all pretty basic common sense stuff. So we're going to go ahead and go on the outside and show you how everything works out there. So here's the outside of the RV. Next to the entry door you have a propane tank. That's like an 8-gallon tank, and that will run those 4 things I told you earlier. That tank is very easy to fill up. A lot of your big gas stations always have propane. You just look up Google propane near me. If you're staying at an RV resort, they always have propane usually at the entrance of RV resorts. But that's your propane there. This is a little outdoor stereo. This works off of the battery. You don't have to have the generator on. You don't have to be plugged in. You can just hook up to Bluetooth and run that however you would like to play music out of that. This is a bottom storage, just the storage down here. This is your vent for your heater. When you turn your heater on, you have a hot vent. This is for your hot water. Turn your hot water on, this blows that hot water vent. This is where you would fill it full of fresh water. It holds about 50 gallons of fresh water. The minute you stick the hose in there, then that will start to fill up your tank. Sometimes people don't like to travel full of water if you're going to go somewhere where you're hooked up, because 50 gallons is a lot of weight. So you keep that in mind. Most people try to go travel, when they're traveling long distances, go with lightweight, which is only 5 or 10 gallons of water. So stick the water in there. If you want to fill it up, as soon as it fills up, comes out of that top screen there, which is an overflow. It'll spew out there for a few seconds, and then you are full of water. I always tell people to go inside and double check, push on the fresh, make sure it shows full. And then this is your outdoor storage, which is your main storage on this side, and that's your biggest storage. And then we'll go around to the other side. So here's the driver's side part of the Jamboree. Now the power plug for the 30 amp plug is the first thing that you're going to see in this left rear corner. This is a normal 30 amp plug. All your RV resorts have a 30 amp plug. I always give people this yellow adapter, and this actually goes down to a small 15 amp. This is nice if you're going to go to somebody's cabin, or when you get home, if you don't want to have the generator on all the time to discharge the lights, run the heater, run your TV. You can actually run this off an extension cord. You cannot run the air conditioning or the microwave off of this, because wherever you plug this in, it's going to just go it's just going to blow a breaker. Once the biggest number one thing that people do is once they leave their RV resort, they forget to plug this back in the outlet. There's an outlet in there, and the generator power comes from that outlet. So when you finished up with your trip, that needs to be plugged back into itself. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Once that plugs into itself, then the minute you turn the generator on, now it will power everything up. This is a city connection. You can leave, if you're at an RV resort, you can leave water hookups here. This just pressurizes your system. It will not fill your tank. So if you want to leave your water hooked up here, this basically just gives you better pressure and you do not have to use the water pump. The only other thing that's back here in the corner is the fuel. It's on this driver's side in the back. That holds 55 gallons of fuel. And the generator runs off of that same tank as well. If you are going to dry camp or boondock, just make sure that you park with about a half a tank of fuel. The generator will not run once that RV is a little under a quarter tank. So keep that in mind, keep that gas tank more full. Doesn't want to leave you stranded, so that way if you're in the middle of the woods, your generator can't run your tank dry all night, and then you're not going to be able to get to your gas station. So that is your city water connection. That is your 30 amp plug. This is your sewer. Open this up, and there is a black sewer hose in that compartment, and there's a freshwater hose in that compartment. Basically what you do to hook up your hose here, you have a black lever, which black is always black, and it's always your big 3-inch pipe. And then you have a gray, which is a smaller 1.5-inch pipe. You would hook up your hose securely. This is the cap that's off right now. You would take this cap off, take your dump hose, you would clip that on, half a turn, make sure it's clipped in securely, make sure it's clipped down into the ground securely. After everything is secure, you always pull black first, which is your bigger hose and your bigger pipe. You can hear everything rush out in about 15-20 seconds. Then I help everything out of the hose, make sure it's dry, and then you pull gray. That will flush and clean your system out. Now, if you're going to stay at a resort, you do exactly that, and then after you're done, you can leave both valves open and leave your septic hose hooked up. That way, anything that you use, whether that be in the bathroom or whether that be in the sinks, just goes straight down into the sewer. Now, before you leave, I usually, unless you know that you used the shower last, you don't know what's in your hose, I shut both valves. Then I'll actually turn the water pump on, or I'll let the shower or the sink run for about 5 or 10 minutes. That will get you plenty of water in your gray tank. The gray tank is to flush that hose out. So I usually run that water in the sink for a few minutes, then shut that off, then come over here and pull gray. Gray will flush that water that you just ran through the sink, run that through your hose and clean your hose out. It's never a nasty job as long as you make sure that both where you hook up and down into the dump is secure, and you make sure that you run it plenty of gray water through it before you unhook everything, so that you know that your hose is clean as well. There's gloves in there as well, and that front storage compartment is a generator that you don't need to get into because you can access that from the inside control panel. And that wraps it up for this side of the 2012 Jamboree 25-foot RV Class C.